New revelations this week in the IRS targeting scandal. Word that Lois Lerner's emails do exist on agency backup servers, and her BlackBerry was deliberately wiped clean after the start of a congressional investigation. So one question now is, why don't we have those emails yet? Listen to this exchange between the IRS Commissioner, John Koskinen, and Utah Congressman Jason Chaffetz from back in March.
You have a duly issued subpoena. Are you or are you not going to provide this committee the emails as indicated in this subpoena? Yes or no?
We have never said we wouldn't go.
I'm asking you yes or no.
We are going to respond to the subpoena.
No, sir.
Yes, we are going to respond to the subpoena. I'm just telling you, to respond fully to the subpoena, we're going to be at this for years, not months.
Republican Congressman Jason Chaffetz joins us from Utah now. You were angry then back in March. You're more or less angry now?
Oh, more fired up than ever. This is technology. These things are backed up. There is a reason why the government spends literally billions of dollars in continuity of government types of programs. These things are backed up. I believe we need to bring in the nerds, bring in the tech geeks, and I think they will show and demonstrate that we can recover these emails. At least I'd like to try, and yet we have not yet talked to these people.
So is this an issue of incompetence, or is this an intentional cover-up from your mind coming from the IRS and, for that matter, other parts of the government? At one point, somebody was saying that they thought that they could find the emails, but it would just be too hard.
Well, yeah, they've said that it can't be too hard. I can't pinpoint their motivation. What does disturb me is that the President of the United States himself, President Obama, stood up and said he was going to get to the bottom of this, that it was outrageous. Then he suddenly, when in an interview with Bill O'Reilly, comes out and says, well, there's not a smidgen of corruption, but we have all sorts of conflicts of interest. We have counter statements to what we believe is to be the truth. We have a lot of movement out there where I believe we have BlackBerry communications, there are emails, all convenient. We have hardware that's crashing days after letters come from Congress. There needs to be a special prosecutor in order to get to the bottom of this. And I would remind everybody that back in May of this year, we had a vote in the United States Congress. 26 Democrats joined us in calling for a special prosecutor. That's what we really need.
One thing a special prosecutor could look into is the issue of Lois Lerner's BlackBerry. At some point, there was a communication between the IRS and Congress about the potential of investigation. And then we're learning, after that communication, Lois Lerner's BlackBerry was deliberately wiped clean. You have to type in BlackBerry and wipe about 4 times before your BlackBerry will delete everything. At some level, that doesn't sound good, even on the face of it.
Look, you had the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, Dave Camp, issue a letter. You had the Oversight and Government Reform issue several letters. Lois Lerner came in and met with the Oversight and Government Reform staff. And then suddenly her BlackBerry is wiped, and oh, by the way, her laptop crashed 10 days later after a Dave Camp letter. Is that just all a coincidence? Are we just supposed to believe that that just spontaneously happened? It was a very concerted effort, days in some cases, days after the United States Congress was looking into this. That is just absolutely fundamentally wrong, if not an obstruction of Congress.
Well, speaking of a possible obstruction of Congress, obstruction of justice, or conflicts of interest, I want to ask you about this. A fellow by the name of Andrew Strelka, he used to be with the IRS, part of this group, and is staffer in the exempt organizations area. Then he ends up at the Justice Department, involved in the investigation into his former colleagues, and now, on Monday, Fox News was able to report that he has left the DOJ. Is there an issue here?
There is an issue. Remember, the IRS has 90,000 employees, and so we're talking about a handful that were involved in these tax-exempt organizations. But he happened to be there, and then just coincidentally happens to go over to the Department of Justice, where they have more than 10,000 attorneys, and just happens to be working on these types of cases related to these Lois Lerner emails and this whole scandal with the IRS targeting. And so it's more than a coincidence to us. This, again, is a pattern that we see out of this Department of Justice and the IRS, a very concerted effort, I think, to not reveal the truth and be forthcoming to the Congress and the American people.
All right, Congressman, we'll have to leave it there, but obviously you're going to be back in Washington come next week with Congress is back in session. We'll see what comes out of the IRS scandal next. Martha has more.
Thank you. Thank you.